Hello and welcome to my studio. Today I'm starting with the shadows, a mixture of yellows and violet to give a warm shadow. Then I move on to the skies, wet on wet, with a mixture of blues and a little bit of yellow that I happen to do off the page. Sorry about that. Now I'm moving on to the colours of the buildings, which is a mixture of my yellows, new gumboot, burnt sienna, natural sienna, and a little bit of quin coral. They're all slightly different, but I'm just mixing them on my palette and dipping into one or the other for a stronger or a lighter weight colour. Here I'm adding some buff with a little bit of Potter's Pink to the coastline so that you can see the definition of that before I move on to any of the other building colours or the sea. Now I'm doing a mixture of oranges for the roof colours, transparent pearl orange, quin coral. The roofs are orange, but I'm making them very, very light, leaving a lot of light so that there's contrast in my buildings and so that you can see that the sun is hitting the rooftops. Now I'm moving on to the greens, starting with the pale greens, the Hansa yellow and the green gold on the coastline, and then I'm going to be moving to darker colours as I go in and behind some of the houses. It's very peaceful doing the greens. I really enjoyed doing this bit, and I'm doing them wet into wet, but I can always go back and darken some of the colours, some of the greens if I need to afterwards. For the darker colours I'm adding Hooker's Green and French Ultramarine. You can see how it builds up and gives some nice depth to some of those green colours and a nice roundness to the foliage. Next, the sea. This time I'm doing it wet on wet. Sometimes I don't, I do it dry, but here I'm using my same blues, cobalt and cerulean, and adding some Prussian blue as well for the depth. It's mixing together quite nicely, and again I might come back to it and add some darker colours to it at a later point. Here I'm adding the darker values, a mixture of burnt sienna and French ultramarine. The darker values make the buildings look much more believable and not just flat as they can appear without the darker tonal values. Here I'm cheating a little, but it's not an urban sketch, it's a sketch I've done in my studio, and I'm adding some reflections in the sea, which I couldn't really actually see because the sun wasn't bright enough, but it's just a pleasing thing to add. And a few more even darker shadows for the sides of the building to make them stand out. Adding my colour swatches, just because I like them really. And a last bit of ink. It's not actually black, it's a dark grey, just because I think it needs a tiny little bit more dark on it.